Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Everyday EDC. My name is Tyler, and today we are going to be reviewing the Mini Feldspar by CJRB. But before we do, let's give a special shout out to Justin from, I don't want to say his last name, but he sent me this. He was the winner of the Proelia TX050 knife, and just been a big part of the channel since it started. So just want to thank Justin so much. This is actually my first piece of everyday EDC gear, and this is huge. This is not physically huge. It's amazing. So I'm gonna try to keep this. It's kind of hard with the way my new setup is to see exactly what I'm doing, but my goal here. And if you see that reflection, that's the fan. I stopped it so it doesn't look obnoxious, but the goal here is try and get this centered up top, and I'll have to come up with a better way to do this, but for right now, we're going to knock this out. Absolutely awesome. So thank you so much, Justin. That is awesome. It's better than I could have even thought about myself as far as making one, and it's definitely going to be the center staple of the channel, and we're gonna build off of that and kind of get some gear, maybe get some stickers, like everybody else does, and just kind of take it from there. But moving on, today we have the Mini Feldspar. I can say, unfortunately, I'm reviewing this after I tweaked the centering on this, and you can see looks like it's shifted a little to the left, but I can't tell because it looks even on both sides. But anyways, when I got it, it was much more off-center. The action was okay. We spruced it up a little bit. And, it didn't... The things that I did to it when I got it, I don't know if I want to call a quality issue, because realistically, it's all tiny little tweaks that you can do yourself, and it's very common sense tweaks that you can do to fix it. AKA, this blade centering was nothing more than a loose pivot screw. The action, nothing more than a spritz of frog lube. So, take all that for what you will. If that bothers you, then don't buy it, but it's $35. I don't mind tweaking a screw for $35. So, this past weekend, I went camping, and I took two knives with me. I took my PM2, and I took the Mini Feldspar. The reason I took both of those is full disclosure, never used my PM2. I used it for a review knife. I wanted to get it in my hands. I kind of flipped it a little bit, and I didn't like it. This isn't a PM2 review. I will do one of those, but I wanted to take it and give it a chance, because every knife that I didn't like, I end up liking more than most knives after I've given it a chance. So these two went camping with me. They did just fine in doing everyday camping stuff. No batoning or anything crazy like that, but they did the job. We sharpened some sticks for hot dogs and marshmallows and all that, and so it holds up to everyday generic use. It came in with a very good edge. I've used it enough to where that edge may be slightly worn down, where a little bit of stropping may be in order. I got the Jade G10 because I haven't had a jade colored knife yet. So I figured, why not, right? In hand, obviously it's the Mini Feldspar. So the larger Feldspar is just a larger version of this knife. And usually people say the smaller version of the knife or the larger version of the knife, depending on which one came first, is kind of just a slapped together, just to have another thing to sell. While that may be the case with this, after carrying this Mini Feldspar, I don't believe that that's the case. I actually really like this, and I might like the Mini better than the regular, and that's kind of counterintuitive to what most reviewers say, so maybe I suck at reviewing, but just my honest opinion. I think that I am a larger knife guy. I like larger knives, but something about the compact, tight carry it's starting to grow on me a little bit more. But I like having two knives on me at all times, so I get one small, one large. All right, enough of the babble. Let's get into some specs here. Obviously, this is a D2 steel, as in all CJRBs. It is on ceramic ball bearings. So the action on it's pretty damn good. The blade stock thickness is coming in at, let's make sure this is good here. I don't know if you guys can see that. There you go. 110 thousandths. The behind the edge thickness is coming in at, my son screaming at the dogs. Did you say manure? It's a weird. Yeah? So this is coming in at 20 thousandths. Or 20 thousandths. Just as a quick reference, is the blade stock thinner than the regular Feldspar? I believe it is. Let's see here. Yeah, so the regular Feldspar is coming in at 120 thousandths. The mini Feldspar is coming in at 110, so they did reduce the blade stock by a little bit. It has a flat grind on it that is going mostly up the way of the knife. You got this flat portion here that carries out almost to the tip, so you got this really beefy edge here. Not edge, but spine of the knife until it gets to the tip. The tip's still pretty dainty, but this is actually pretty solid. I don't feel like I'm going to break this knife. I really do enjoy carrying this, and I'm confident carrying it. As you can see, the action on it, I haven't cleaned this since after camping, by the way. So this is kind of dirty, and it's still has awesome action, especially for a $35 knife. The thumb studs, they're not really in the cutting path at all. You got this, I'm not going to call it a forward finger choil. I'm going to call that a sharpening choil because it's not really a finger choil. You can put your thumb or your finger there, but I don't recommend it on this knife. You don't need to with this knife. I can get a almost full grip by where this is. If I were to carry it like this, I can get all my hands on there, but I would never use this knife like this. I've already used it, and I don't prefer that hand. I don't prefer that grip. But you can get all four fingers on here. Your pinky's a little squished. As you can see, it's an ambidextrous knife that has a T8 pivot screw with T6 body screws and pocket clip screws. Deep carry pocket clip, the old school pocket clip that people complain about with the swoop down and then the swoop up. I haven't noticed too many issues with it getting caught on things. I think as reviewers, we get something in our mind that basically states, you know, this is bad and this is why it is bad, right? This pocket clip is bad because it has this swoop and then this swoop up as opposed to just a natural swoop. You know, whatever. You know, I think these things that all reviewers, and I'm not criticizing all reviewers, but I think that things that they focus on is kind of like Head and Shoulders. You know, Head and Shoulders hit the market. It's a weird dandruff reference, but Head and Shoulders hit the market telling everybody dandruff is bad, dandruff is gross, you got to fix it, and we have the solution, right? It was never a fucking problem before you could fix it. Nobody gave a shit about dandruff. They all know that, you know, it's dry outside, you get some dry skin, whatever, it goes on your shoulder, you brush it off. Go and brush your shoulders off. But, you know, I think that's the same thing. As a reviewer, we've found one time that this caught on something, and I'm spending too long on the average CJRB pocket clip, but you guys get the point. It's not a big deal. Is the other one better? Yeah, yeah, I guess, but not by much. As you can see, we got these pivot collars going on right here. Typical CJRB with most of their knives. It's got this drop point finish and a satin finish on the blade. It is not too bad of billboarding. It's got a serial number and D2 steel right there. I don't know if you guys... Hey, you're interrupting the video, kid. And if you guys wonder why I cuss with my kid around, it's because he hasn't said a cuss word yet. So the moment he cusses, I gotta stop that. But back to you. So those are the specs. Let's do the... Those are the specs. I gave you two. Hey, quiet now. Less than ½ inch thick, as we can see here. Tall-wise, you are super talkative, man. Give me like 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Height-wise, 1.08 high, so it's not a tall knife at all in your pocket either. Let's get into the weight. Let's see if you guys can actually see this weight. Can you guys see that? Hell yeah. I'm loving this overhead view. All right. I got a different overhead, by the way. You know, I said I bitched about it being hard. I got a new overhead, mount that I got from Wish for like $12, and I used the counterfeit knife money to get these things. So it's basically free, so that's pretty cool. But you guys can, I think, see it way better. I'm looking at it. Anyways, this is a 2.79 ounces knife. That is not very heavy. That's pretty minimal. Let me make sure this was zeroed out. Okay, it's zeroed out. That's pretty minimal. I'm so cautious about this. I want this to be even. Oh God, I'm going on 10 minutes already. Jesus Christ. All right, so the overall length, let's try and get through this. I dabbled a little bit too long. The overall length on this guy, you are looking at just about 7 inches long with a 3-inch blade tipped to the scales and about a 2 3/4 cutting length. Now let's do some size comparisons. First, we'll start off with the regular Feldspar, obviously dwarfing the mini Feldspar, and then the CJRB Rhea. So one thing I'm going to find really interesting is comparing the mini Feldspar to the Rhea. This obviously is much more slicey and it's much more compact, but just like the Durus versus the Elementum, there's something to like about a little bit more, right? You can bear down on this just a little bit more. It can take a little bit more damage, than this. Not damage, but brutalization. So those two's comparison is going to be pretty interesting. At least for me. I don't know if you guys find it interesting. If you're watching, you might find it interesting. Here's your Rat Model 1, which I conveniently call Rat Model 2 from time to time, so forgive that mistake. I think it's because of my PM2. So we're sitting here with our ProTech Newport, and actually the ProTech Newport looks like it's slightly longer. The Rat 1 obviously dwarfs the mini Feldspar there. Here is our PM2 and our Manix 2. And I may be that asshole, and I love my Manix 2. It's probably my favorite knife that I'm not scared to use, even though I'm still kind of scared. I'd rather grab the mini Feldspar or the Rat or something, just because they're cheaper. But after using the PM2, I don't want to go into that, but yeah. So we'll go into that in the PM2 review. Here's the Dogma and the Durus. And for all of you that corrected me on the Durus, I hope I'm saying it properly now. It's almost becoming second nature. So as you can see here, the Durus is just about as long as the mini Feldspar, and about twice as thick, but the mini Feldspar is still a thicker, small knife when you compare it to the Rhea or the Newport or something of that nature. Actually, a good comparison here is the Dogma. The Dogma's got it by about 1/4 of an inch longer in the blade length, and maybe 1/8 of an inch longer in the scale length, and then you're getting probably an overall 1/2 inch longer. I have a tape measure, and I am not going to measure them, but you see it, and these are actually two very comparable knives for some aspects of it. Overall thoughts on this guy? The quality's just fine. It came in, like I said, I had to do a couple things. It's got a lanyard hole, which is non-obtrusive. It doesn't really make anything one way or the other. The action on it is pretty freaking fantastic. I love the action on this guy. You hit it and the D10's strong, so it hits it nice and hard. There is no way I'm shaking this guy loose. Like some of my other knives, I can pop it and it'll pop loose. This one will not do that. The thumb studs are generic thumb studs, but they're in a decent position that you can knock it out real easy. I don't know that I can reverse flick. I've never been able to really reverse flick thumb studs, but you can with this one. It does hurt your finger a little bit until you get used to it, but it is what it is. Everything's it's not really chamfered all around, but it's knocked down to where there's no real sharp edges on here, kind of like the Krag, but maybe that's a product of the G10 that it's using here. It's not as grippy. It's grippy enough that you're not going to lose it, by the way. And let's see here. Is there anything else I missed? The liner, it's a liner lock with recessed liners. That's one thing to note. This does have recessed liners, kind of like the regular Feldspar. The regular Feldspar has recessed liners as well. There's no milling on the inside, but that's kind of what you get for 35 bucks. And my favorite thing about these knives in CJRB that they win over a lot of the Civivis, not overall, I don't like jimping on my liner lock. I don't know why. I just don't like it. Especially when I feel a smooth liner like this. Like I would rather have the smooth liner where it's etched out a little bit here, and it just feels more comfortable to fidget with. As you can see, no up and down, no side to side blade play. And yeah, overall the quality's very good. The D2 that you're getting on there, I haven't done a real comparison of Civivi D2 versus CJRB D2. And maybe one day I gotta kind of get into that. But overall, my thoughts on this knife, if you like a knife that is relative, it's not sub 3 inches, but it's damn near. And I don't think it comes over the 3-inch mark. It just, blade lengthwise, it just is right there. So it's, depending on who's measuring. If you want that style of knife and you're willing to spend 35 bucks, I don't think you can go wrong with this. And to be perfectly honest, the Rhea is awesome too. But the Rhea to me is so damn slicey, but so kind of like dainty feeling. And I'm not going to call it a cheap feel. It feels a little bit like just smaller, just I feel like if you're doing a little bit more heavy duty stuff than just cutting up some food and opening letters and cutting paper, like I don't think that I would take the Rhea and break down boxes. It's a very great slicer. It could do the job, but I think it's a little underkill for knife guys. This you can break down boxes with. This is a decent knife. It doesn't come to a laser sharp edge, so it's not as slicey as some, but it's slicey enough that you can do those, we'll say, lower to middle range tasks with it. Whereas this is just a lower range style task, and all folding knives, I'm comparing folding knives versus folding knives. But like if I was to take the Manix 2, I can do, we'll say, in between medium and high range tasks with the knife that a knife is supposed to do, not, cutting, chopping wood in half or anything like that. But you can do heavier duty, more usage than this. But this is a great everyday carry. You can do everything you need with this knife. So what I'm trying to say is, in this long, stupid rant that everybody's probably turned off this fucking video for at this point, is this is a great knife. And I almost dare to say I like this better than the large Feldspar. The only thing that kind of holds me away from going straight there is that I think that my natural tendency to like smaller knives is starting to come out a little bit more. It started with the Durus and then moved into the Falcon, and I just appreciate something that I can hold in my hand and it kind of disappears and it's easy to tuck away. I just appreciate that value in it. That's not to say like the PM2, wait till I get to the review, because everybody knows the PM2, but I fell in love with the PM2 this weekend, and it's a larger knife. So each knife has its own place, and I think the mini Feldspar should have a place in damn near everybody's repertoire because it fills the gap of some things. It's not small, it's not large, and it fills a need for certain people. So I love the knife. Yeah, I mean, short of the Rhea, I think this is probably my favorite CJRB to date. I said that about a lot of them, like the Tala, that I still got to get the Gobi and the Taiga, but this one is solid. The mini Feldspar, I'm not going to compare it to the Rhea, but I will say, out of the whole CJRB lineup, the Rhea and this one so far, in my opinion, are must-haves. As Nick Shabazz would say, this is an absolute gem. And I know most reviewers don't agree with me. Most of them like the regular Feldspar over the mini, but that's just my opinion. After carrying them both about the same amount of time, using them both about the same amount, I love this mini Feldspar. So that's about it, guys. That's all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry this took a little bit longer than usual. Love you guys. Stay safe. Stay sharp. Have a great day. Wear your fucking masks. Thanks.